Namaskar, hello, and welcome to the D Show, where we explore leadership, life, and the journeys that shape extraordinary lives. In this special 2020 leadership series in this season, we sit down with accomplished women whose experiences extend far beyond professional success. Women who have gathered wisdom through challenges, choices, and defining moments that have shaped their perspective on life and leadership. My dear friends, today's guest works at the intersection of law, relationships, and human emotions. As a civil and family law specialist, she has witnessed people at some of their most vulnerable moments navigating conflict, heartbreak, and new beginnings. Behind every legal case is a human story. And today we are here to understand what those stories have taught her about life. So let's welcome to the D Show studio the one and only advocate Kalyani Kulkarni. Ta-da! Welcome,
Hello.
Kalyani.
Hi. So good to see you, and I'm so happy to be here.
It is entirely my pleasure, Kalyani. And I know we've been discussing to get you in the D Show studio
I
for a while
know.
now. I'm just glad you could make some time. So thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes. Let's begin.
Let's begin. I'm super excited and I want to get a lot of trivia and knowledge out of you. So the first question for you is people know you as a lawyer, but beyond the courtroom and legal arguments, who is the person that we would meet over a cup of coffee?
Uh, I am a simple, happy-go-lucky person. I basically believe in the system of marriage, and I also believe in simple joys of life. So a cup of coffee with a friend also gives me the same joy.
How sweet and adorable. So you're like this, you exuberate optimism and positivity. And I think I've heard so many of your fans talk about your infectious energy, even in court.
I try my best because the place is so negative and the things going on are so negative that I think we as a lawyers are the only people who can bring some positivity in their life.
I couldn't agree more. And especially in the Indian courtrooms, we could
Yeah.
really use a lot of color and positivity and language
Yes.
and everything. So, what's that one misconception people have about marriage and family dispute?
Uh, People definitely think that I think almost everyone that once there is one mistake in any relationship or marriage, then that relationship or marriage is over. That is something that breaks most of the relations. So I'm not just talking about family code, but I'm also talking about all other disputes that
Right.
people never understand that one mistake could be just a comma and we could move on. That is there, like especially for divorce cases it is definitely there. I don't see that in the civil code, but I remember I had a client who is she's still my client. She came to me and she had a marriage of say 2 years, and her dad got her to me to
Okay.
file the divorce because she was in a very abusive relationship.
Oh, so
And
sad.
after hearing the story, the only question she had was, how will I live as a divorcee?
My
And that
God.
that broke my heart. That one person, uh, the thought that after this process she will be called a divorcee was such a big ask for her, such a big hurdle for her to file the case. So that is something that I see every time.
And it is so disheartening because हमारे समाज में कोई आदमी से ये नहीं पूछता in remarriages, right? How many
True, true.
divorces or
I
how many broken relationships? I think in today's generation, broken relationships equivalent to broken live-ins or equivalent to broken marriages. Everybody is invested in every relationship.
I know. I have never seen a man saying so. That what will the world say if I am divorced? But the girls are still, so many of them are at the stage that they are scared or they are reluctant to file the case because they cannot take the thought of being called divorcee.
It is the ugly truth and the sad truth, thanks to the patriarchy in our society.
I know.
But I know, Kalyani, you are making a change in your little way. And that's what kind of inspired me to invite you on our show, because people need to hear a woman leader and achiever such as yourself, your voice. Now, in your experience, what breaks a relationship more often? Is it lack of communication? Are these unmet expectations? Or is it the ego?
I would say all three.
Okay,
It always starts with lack of communication, and
right.
when that communication gap uh, grows bigger, then there comes the ego, and there comes all other problems. So it always starts with the lack of communication, in my opinion.
And a heartbreak. But in your experience, Kalyani, have you had a case that changed the way that you looked at life? मतलब आपने कुछ सीखा उस केस में से?
I think I learned from all the cases for sure. There was a case of a senior couple who who was pushed out of their house by their own daughter.
Oh, how
And
sad.
in the whole process, we filed a case for the couple, and they got they got their home back, they got everything back. But uh, but I couldn't think about their relation going back to what it was before.
The
So
cracks had developed.
so it is, yeah, the cracks that were developed, and with a very little thinking and empathy towards her own parents, whatever this lady did was irreversible. I think every case teaches so much as a lawyer, because behind the lawyer there is also a human.
Of course. Has it happened with you that these cases play onto your mind and you can't sleep?
Oh, that is something I would say that is my specialty, and that is how I am surviving in this profession. That I can compartmentalize my work from my personal life. If you
Right.
can't do that, I have two friends who started practice with me but could not survive in this profession because they were carrying those stories of their clients home, and they couldn't
Okay.
sleep. So all these the separation of work from office is something that you need to have in this profession for sure.
बट ऐसा कुछ टेक्निक है या हैक है आप घर पे करते हैं which kind of resets your mood or brings you back, or it can
um,
be a learning for
I
so many
think
other.
meditation is something I really need to do, these techniques, but that is something that is really that helps me switch from work to my personal life. Otherwise, I wouldn't survive a week.
True. That's a very valuable insight. And to all the aspiring lawyers who are hearing us and leaders in the
Um,
making, please just start meditating. So, what is that one lesson, Kalyani, about conflict that most people learn too late? And if you notice, I think conflict, not just in marriages or relationships, even between money issues, property issues, I think they're just on a rise.
yeah,
But
they are. They are. So, uh, the recent numbers from the courts are showing exponential rise in all kind of cases post COVID. So
my
people
God,
in most of the cases completely underestimate of the fact that if you can remove your emotions from what you are thinking, what your thoughts are, what you want, any emotion, it could be anger, it could be your cry for help or anything. Once you remove your emotions and you have clarity of the thoughts, then you could avoid so many litigations. So if
right.
they really remove their emotions and then try to communicate right in the starting, then the communication gap won't be there, and there won't be these many litigations for sure.
True. I just hope and I wish that everyone or all the lawyers who are advising clients, who are in such a close proximity to clients in their lives, they learn these things from you.
I hope so. At least I try my best to give these insights to my juniors and interns who are working with me. You need to have the empathy and the completely third person perspective to understand the case, work on their marriage. I think that is something that I wouldn't say I'm the only one. There are many such lawyers who are trying to work
Right.
on all the broken marriages. It is a lot of work, but then at the end of the day, if you can save one marriage, it is a great joy. So that is something that people really need to understand, that this can be done and you should make efforts to do that.
Absolutely. And I hope this wave continues. And that's why this season I've dedicated to going beyond the norm. The norm, I think, is that, stereotype that lawyers hain to humse paise bhi lenge aur divorce to kara hi denge.
I know.
But
I am
I
trying
know
my
you personally and,
I'm trying my best to break that norm.
break
I
that.
have followed few more rules in my office to give the comfort to the clients. For so many things, when you come to a client, to a lawyer, they are, as I said, they are thinking that okay, she's here to to make my situation of my marriage worst than where I am right now. So that is something I'm definitely working on. I offer counseling to all the couples. In, I
Nice.
would say, 10% cases is where I don't offer counseling or mediation,
Right.
are the cases where there is physical violence
Right.
and there is already a known fact of third person in the picture.
Okay.
And physical violence, you I think all everyone has seen that movie Thappad.
जी बिल्कुल.
I don't know if I don't know how many people agree, but in my profession and even personally, I agree with that movie a lot,
Right.
because physical violence always starts with one incident,
बिल्कुल.
and once you have one incident, it always grows. So in these two conditions, I never even advise counseling.
Okay.
In those cases, I go for filing and try to close that matter for sure.
Having a third person, when you mentioned that case, it just got me the latest news where this industrialist daughter, along with a
Oh
boyfriend,
yes,
and this was so heartening that today in India, life is so cheap by these privileged class children that they thought that they can just push somebody off the
I
cliff.
know it is.
It's scary, right?
It is scary. It
What
is
are people
scary
thinking?
from both the angles. Uh, the girl's perspective is also very scary, thinking that life is so cheap that she could just push and get rid of one person
And
from
not
her
have the
life.
courage to tell her demands to her parents. I think even that is that she had to take such an extreme step, right?
I know. There is, again, I would say, I will keep repeating these words in the whole talk of ours, is again the communication. That is something which, if you remove your emotions, it is such a simple thing. Put what you want to say in simple words. If you
Right.
can do that with your parents, if you can do that with your spouse, if you can do that in a civil, even for a civil litigation like the land litigation, or all these disputes start with the communication.
True.
And
True.
if
And
that
that's
girl would have communicated with her parents that I don't want to get married to this guy, or maybe I want to get married to somebody else, it could have saved, maybe could have saved one person's life.
absolutely. So do you feel that justice and closure are always the same thing?
I definitely think that they are not the same thing. See,
Okay.
when you
Give an
approach
example.
the court, um, justice, with time you get it. Justice is
Right.
what you get in the form of a judgment.
Right.
But closure, now this is specifically for family court cases. Closure is something that you need to process what you have been putting under the rug throughout your relationship. And you need to understand, sit down and understand and talk with yourself and analyze what exactly went wrong, and make up your mind and that I will not repeat the mistake in any other relationship, and analyze your own situation, your own relationship. This is closure.
So true. And I
And
think
then
that's where lawyers can also play a good role, right? It's not
that
just
is
about closing the case and winning the case or
exactly,
losing the, it has to be a closure till the end of
yes.
communicating.
So even for something that, again, there is very little that we can do for the society. And I think in my profession, there are things like this, that helping your clients to have a closure is something I feel that I'm doing for the society. Because Divya, can you imagine a person having this baggage of bad relation, closing that relation with that judgment, going out in the society again with that baggage, and trying to get himself or herself into a new relation?
Right.
How damaging is this?
Yeah. And
Unless you have a closure from your first marriage, you
right.
cannot and you should not start your second marriage. And that's why, at least for my own clients who are closing their divorce cases, I insist that when you move on and you are entering into new relationship, see to it that you see me with your spouse for at least one pre-marriage counseling, where
Excellent.
I can uh, try to get that baggage from the first uh, incidents down, and
Right.
give them a clean slate, so that with a clean slate and with uh, less sour memories, they can start the new relation.
I know, and I think that also brings in another question in my head, that what quality do you think people underestimate when navigating difficult relationships or difficult times? Since you're talking about closure, I've seen very few families who even get you together to introspect or reflect, where did you go wrong? They just want to brush it under the carpet and move on.
That is exactly what I see every day, that you sit down and talk.
Right.
And to talk, you need to have the clarity, and you also need to have the trust in your
Yes.
relation with the other person, so that if I'm sitting down to talk on a different or difficult subject, then I should have the trust in the other person, that that person will listen to me and understand me and help me get over it. So that
Beautiful.
is something that people just don't do. And
Yes.
then we have very limited exposure to their life as clients and as lawyers. But then whatever we can, because we go so close to their lives with the family court litigation, that I think we understand the clients equally how their family or their parents would understand them. So that is another perspective that I try to bring in, that I try to fill up all these gaps wherever I see them, because that is, my ego is not there anywhere. I'm trying not just to close or get the case done for that client, but also I try my best to have some improvement in that person's life as a human.
So,
So
what is the advice, Kalyani, you would give someone going through currently? And I'm sure so many people are going to be watching this podcast. If they're going through a difficult chapter in their life, a difficult time, what is that one advice that you would give them?
I would definitely say, have some patience. That patience gives you strength to have clarity,
Right?
and also uh, uh, it gives you ability to have better decisions. They are, when they are going through personal crisis, I call this as suffocation. This is suffocation at home,
Yeah.
when after a day of full day of work, when most of people are excited to go home, There are still, unfortunately, many people sitting in the office because they don't want to go home.
So true. That's the
That
sad
is
reality.
that is called suffocation at home.
Yeah.
So if you don't think that there is someone waiting for me at home, there is someone who is eager to love me at home, is where you call that the marriage or the relationship is failing. I'm not just talking about marriage. I'm also talking about a relation of a young boy with his parents.
Of course, even friendships.
Even friendships.
Even friendships, even if you don't feel like, or there's a doubt in your head and your heart that you don't feel like, or it feels like a wait to meet some person, a
I know.
network person, or a dear friend, I think that is a first sign that it's
That
failing.
is the first sign that it is failing. If you can't get few minutes of your day to for one person, it
Yeah.
means the relation is dying, and
Yeah.
then they
Wow.
don't work on it.
So many beautiful nuggets of your wisdom, and I'm sure it'll help so many listeners and watchers of this podcast. In this
I hope
part
so.
one section, it will, Kalyani, and in this part one section, I want you to share a message to aspiring young lawyers. I know you run a company, you're a leader
Oh my
by
God.
excellence.
I could talk for hours on this point.
Yeah,
So
tell
I
me in short.
yeah. So I would definitely say that there are law is such an exciting field, and there are so many verticals that you can work on being a lawyer. I have seen that they just barely try and see two, three verticals. They just try
Right,
and attend as bare minimum requirement of their college. They try and get internship with two, three people, and then they take the decision what they want to do.
right.
But I would definitely ask them to put in a lot of sincere efforts and uh, look for all the verticals in law. Try, that is what internships are for. But these new age students, they want 1 or 2 months internships. I
Adhirta hai
don't know.
unme.
Yeah, they want everything so quick.
Yeah.
So they want everything fast. So if you want to become a lawyer, there is hell lot of patience that you need to use in this profession. So start using that patience in the starting, even before you decide what kind of law practice or law work that you want to do.
So true. And I hope the youngsters and the youth of today are listening to this beautiful advice. Well, consistency is certainly the key, and you have to get up every morning and do affirmations about consistency, and you can
True.
get there. It has been wonderful talking to you, Kalyani, and I'm so glad we did this. I was so
I
excited
know.
because my
I
key
loved
takeaway.
coming here and having a talk. I felt as if I was just talking to my friend. So it
Yes.
was fun.
And my one takeaway from today's conversation, Kalyani, is that meaningful relationships are built on awareness, empathy, and the courage to embrace difficult conversations.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Thank you for being so honest and open with us today, because people know you mostly in your profession or as a
I
family
know.
member. And I wanted to bring out the leadership in you and your learnings. And you've just done that to great balance. You've also shared some case studies with us. And I'm
Yes.
pretty sure it's going to help a lot of our watchers and listeners and readers. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was such a fun doing this with you because with such a serious subject that I deal with, I myself saw a fun side of myself answering your questions.
Thank you so much for the validation and all your support. Bye.
Bye.
Well, my dear friends, conversations like these remind us that while titles may describe who we are, it is our experiences that shape who we become. And don't be afraid of difficult conversations, and don't be afraid to seek help from the right voice of reasons. because a stitch in time will always save nine. This has been the D Show's 2020 Leadership Series, 20 questions, approximately 20 minutes. I'm trying my best to limit the conversations and make it interesting and power packed for you. We are going beyond the norm. And I'm Dr. D. Until the next time, my dear friends, keep growing, keep evolving, and keep choosing to go beyond the norm. Cheers.